Today we're deconstructing a really fascinating thought experiment. It's one that starts in a very strange place, but trust me, it ends up somewhere truly inspiring. And it all comes from just one simple, creative spark.
All right, so here's where our story begins. With this simple, kind of quirky, and honestly a little confusing prompt, let's make a porcupine wetsuit. What does that even mean? Well, as it turns out, that first thought isn't quite where this journey ends up.
So first things first, we've got to clear something up about what this idea actually is. Because the image that probably just popped into your head, well, it's probably not the one we're exploring today.
And here is the crucial pivot. The idea isn't about wrangling an actual porcupine into a tiny wetsuit, as hilarious as that image is. No, it's about creating a wetsuit for humans that acts like a porcupine, mimicking its amazing defensive abilities.
And with that little clarification, the concept just totally transforms. It goes from a funny phrase to a really creative solution for a serious problem: how to protect swimmers and surfers from shark attacks. All of a sudden, that porcupine idea has a powerful new purpose.
So how would this actually work? Well, the first idea they came up with is a purely mechanical defense system, and it comes straight from that original porcupine concept.
The key to this whole invention is something called the dormant spike system. Just imagine this. You have spikes literally woven into the fabric of the wetsuit, but they lie completely flat and smooth. It feels totally normal, doesn't get in your way, until, a threat shows up.
And here's how it all happens, in 4 quick steps. First, the person wearing it hits a panic button. That instantly heats up a tiny fuse wire right next to a spike. Third, that fuse melts the little bit of material that's holding the spike in place. And finally, boom, the spike springs outward, and it's even sharpened on an angle as it gets released.
So what's the result? An attacking shark that's expecting soft neoprene is going to get a mouthful of sharp prongs instead. A very spiky and a very unwelcome surprise. It's basically nature's own armor, just adapted for the ocean.
And this really highlights how elegant the system is. It is a completely normal, comfortable wetsuit right up until the exact moment you need it to be something much, much more. No sharp edges, nothing getting in your way, just safety on demand.
But, like any good brainstorming session, the thinking didn't just stop at the first idea. The creative process kept rolling, and they started asking, is there maybe an alternative to a purely mechanical defense?
And this led to a completely different approach. The team shifted gears from a mechanical defense to a chemical one, which is another fascinating way to solve the very same problem.
So instead of spikes, this version uses a powerful chemical deterrent. The idea is to have these little satchels built right into the wetsuit that, when you trigger them, release this really pungent fluorescent liquid out into the water. And this alternative provides a multi-layered defense. It starts with a little bang to startle the shark. Then it releases a chemical cloud that sharks find totally repulsive. At the same time, a bright fluorescent dye marks where you are for rescue teams, and it even leaves a trail in the water. So it's a deterrent, a rescue beacon, and a tracking device all in one package. And the science behind this is based on real research into what chemicals sharks really hate. For example, semiochemicals. They basically mimic the smell of dead sharks, which is a natural stay-away signal. Other options include things like ammonia and sulfur compounds that are just deeply unpleasant to a shark's powerful senses.
Okay, but what if the person wearing this is in trouble and can't actually activate the system themselves? This is where the idea gets a really crucial upgrade.
This is such a critical thing to consider. If the person is unconscious or they're unable to hit that panic button, the whole system needs a failsafe. And this is where it evolves from just a deterrent into a full-on rescue system.
And the solution is remote activation. A GPS tracker gives rescue teams the general location. From there, they can remotely trigger the chemical cloud. And that creates a bright, visible marker in the water that lets them zero right in for a quick rescue. It's just a fantastic layer of peace of mind.
So all of this brings us to the final and I think most important takeaway from this entire creative exercise. Because really, it's not actually about the wetsuit at all. This entire journey started with a funny-sounding, maybe even a slightly silly concept. But the process of exploring it, of asking what if, and then building on those answers, that is what truly matters here. It's a perfect example of how creativity really works. And this quote just gets to the very heart of invention. The real value isn't always in the final product itself, but in the exploration, the collaboration, and just having the courage to share ideas, no matter how wild they might seem at first. So, ultimately, this whole thought experiment, it's not really about a patent-pending wetsuit.
It's about this really powerful message, the importance of nurturing curiosity. It's a call to value science and the whole process of discovery, and to encourage that kind of thinking in ourselves and in the next generation. And that's the thought we want to leave you with. This whole journey is a great reminder to value science, to encourage those future thinkers, and to never, ever be afraid to ask, what if? So what's your porcupine wetsuit? What's that crazy idea that you could explore?